Hello, we're going to talk about the theory of semiotics and semiology today. How many of you read that reading assignment? So the reading assignment for this video was Barth's Elements of Semiology, the introductory chapter. So what did you think? Did you understand it? It was a bit difficult to comprehend, wasn't it? Don't worry, I'm going to give the high points and make it a little more understandable. So first of all, we're going to talk about the people who founded semiology. But first, a little bit about what semiology and semiotics is. Basically, it's the study of signs, symbols, and any graphic image that tells the viewer more than just what the image is. Signs have been around since before recorded history, but the study of analysis of signs is more recent. In Europe, the first recorded study of semiology, that is the word that the Europeans use for the theory of symbols, is semiology. It was conducted by Ferdinand de Saussure. My French is not very good. He was a linguist in Switzerland. He was from Switzerland, but he also did some studying in France. So he was in the 19th century until the early 20th century. He studied the structure of language, and he created the concept of the signifier and the signified. And I'll clear that up here in a few minutes. Saussure argued that signs consisted of two parts. He described the physical form of a sign and whether it was written or spoken language as the signifier. These shapes and sounds, when signified, certain mental concepts were given to the audience. For instance, we write or say the word tree. We immediately visualize a tree with long roots and branches. Almost simultaneously in the United States, Charles Sanders Peirce, that's how you pronounce it, was conducting work in pragmatism. He's known as the father of pragmatism. That approach assesses the true meaning of theories or beliefs in terms of their practical application. If you are pragmatic, the Oxford Dictionary defines it as dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical considerations. So Peirce had a lot of significant contributions to semiology, and he was recognized for his role in interpreting and reading signs. Next, we have Roland Barthes that you read before this video. He was a French essayist and social and literary critic. That is the operative word, the critic, whose writings on semiotics, the formal study of symbols and signs, were pioneered by Saussure. And he helped establish structuralism and the new criticism as leading intellectual movements. All three of these men created the theory of symbols. Let's dive deeper into how their symbols work. This is Saussure's theory. It only has two parts, the signifier and the signified. So back to our tree example. The word tree on the left is the signifier, and the symbol in the actual tree is the signified. So basically what that does is it makes us realize that our language are just icons. The TREE put together in that way makes us all think of what's on the right-hand side, the signified. Okay, so here is Peirce's triad. He agreed that there is the two parts that Saussure had, but he also included interpretation. So his basic elements of semiotics was the sign, which represents the object, which is, the sign is the word tree, the object is the tree, but then there's an interpretation. The interpretation gives meaning. So he described it as a triadic relationship. All three elements are depending on each other to produce the same meaning. So you've got to be able to interpret to make the sign complete. So Barthes, of course, had to add his two bits to it. He believed that this relationship was part of a larger model of communication, which he called the signification process. In the first order of meaning, denotation refers to the literal or explicit interpretation of the sign, such as the dictionary definition for a word or a photograph that represents the person in the shot. The connotation is an additional meaning which usually expresses an emotion or a value. For instance, the word green denotes a color, but it can also be used to describe envy, to suggest someone is naive. So, that is the summation of the theory of semiotics. My interpretation, it's more of a rolling thing. It's not something that's got all of these cuts and all words and everything. It's basically just a process. We see an object, we interpret it. We know the meaning, object, interpretation, meaning. So we are just constantly on a everlasting and eternal interpretation of signs. It's always going and going. Okay, the study of signs. Basically, a symbol can be many things. There are systems. They can be road signs, grocery signs, danger signs, and signs of the zodiac. But there's so much more. There has to be some things that a sign has to meet three different things first before it can be really a sign. It must have a physical form. It must refer to something other than itself. And it must be used and recognized as a sign. I mean, you can have your own secret signs, your own secret language, your own secret inside esoterical jokes or whatever. But for it to really be a sign in the broad sense of the word, it's got to be recognized and used. Let's talk about signs more deeply. Let's use the example of the stop sign, of the traffic signs. In a system, there has to be consistency. It has to be broadly recognized. The shape and the color are key. If you would know to stop if you were to see a sign that's an octagon that's red, you absolutely would, regardless of what language is in it, is on the sign itself. So here is a bunch of different stop signs used all over the world. So you can see that they mainly are very similar. The only change with most of them is just the language. A lot of them use stop just because that's what they've adopted. So some of them have a different language, like in Mexico, alto. Then in Hong Kong, there's stop, and then the Chinese character for stop, and then you can see it changes a little bit. The only place that there's really any deviation that would cause people to go, what, is in Japan and in Libya. You can see that they're using totally different. I mean, in our language, that triangle is a yield sign, so that's very problematic. But you can see that generally it is a broad agreement that that shape and that color means stop for a traffic sign. Here are some more examples of traffic signs. You can see that there's all kinds of colors and all kinds of shapes, but they all have meaning. Here are some more examples of the roadway signs. There's a whole lot of different shapes and different colors, but they're universally used, so we know what each one of them are talking about. Don't even have to have language in there. It's just the sign and the color and the icon that's on it that tells us what that sign is warning us of or telling us. Like, don't park in a parking space that has that blue sign because you will pay a hefty fine. And then we have localized signs that are locally recognized broadly, like Buddy Holly. That is a sign that has more connotation than just the name of a street. As we all know, living in Lubbock, this one you don't even have to be able to understand English if you were to see this. You can see that that is absolutely a bear, and we know that there is danger. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the modes of signs. Signs have different categories. The first one is the symbol or the symbolic. The signifier doesn't have to resemble the signified. For instance, you see our Texas flag here. We all know Texas. We think Texas. If you wear a shirt that's in those color combinations, you know that it's a proud Texan, but it is not in the shape of Texas. So that is a symbol. It also could be arbitrary because who picked that sign? I mean, who made that flag? I mean, it's not really meaningful of anything except for the lone star. The language in general, um, numbers, Morse code, traffic lights, national flags, those are all symbols. They're not actually signifying the real thing. Another one is the icon or the iconic. The signified is perceived in resembling or imitating the signified. So that means that the icon looks very much like the object that it's representing. It either sounds, it feels, it tastes, or smells like the signified. It can be a portrait, it can be a cartoon scale model like in trains, or onomatopoeia. I think I said that right. That word is a very strange word, and I love saying it, onomatopoeia. Anyway, that is a sign, an iconic sign that you would see like in a Batman movie or in a Batman cartoon. Bam, pow, crash. All of those sayings, all those words sound like the thing that it's representing. So that is also iconic. There's also metaphors and there are gestures. So here is something that is um, a symbol. It's the Dallas Cowboys. Is that iconic or is that symbolic? I vote for symbolic because that does not look like football. That does not look like Texas. The only thing that could possibly be considered iconic is the color and the way that it's banded. But otherwise, it's a star is a star. So that one has to be symbolic. What about this one? Is that one symbolic? It looks like an apple, but it is not selling apples. That's not the symbol for Washington apples. That is a symbol for a computer. So again, that is symbolic. What about this one? It's definitely a hand. It's making a little symbol there, and that one is a gesture. So that one is actually iconic because metaphors and gestures is an iconic symbol. So you have to be a Red Raider. If you're a Red Raider, you know what that is. Okay, some more modes of signs. Now, these examples here are definitely iconic. Here is the onomatopoeia, the buzzword, the buzz, the zoom, the boom, all of those kind of things. Here are cartoons. Here's a a railroad, and there's a portrait. All of those things are considered iconic. Here is the third type of signs, the index. The signifier is directly connected in some way to the signifier. So there are natural signs, like you've heard if there's smoke, there's fire. Well, that is a natural sign. If you see smoke, you know that something is burning, that there is that one leads to the other. So you know that is connected to the signifier is connected directly to the signified. Thunder, you know that there is a storm because you hear thunder. If you see footprints in the sand, you know that a human has made that, or if it's an animal footprint, you know what animal it does. A pointing index finger on a sign, that is an index sign. A directional post is also an index. A video or a photograph or an audio or a catchphrase is also an index. An example is this is an index because it is a road sign that tells you exactly where you are. So it's very it's It's an index. Okay, Recomtech is definitely a catchphrase. So if you say Recomtech, you know exactly what you're signifying. Okay, here is your participation activity for this video. While you're out and about today, or if you're just zooming around on the computer, find examples of each mode of the signs that we discussed just a minute ago in a normal day. I want you to take your phone and photograph a symbol, an icon, or an index. And what I want you to do is I want you to upload it to, there's going to be a tab in Canvas that says participation, and it's going to have a place for you to upload your photographs into that particular little folder. And be sure to name them with your name just in case things get scrambled, so that I'll know that you did that and I can give you your points. Any questions? Just text me and I will see you in the next video. Next up, more semiotics and semiology.